Good morning. I am Jean-Laurent Rosenthal, Chair of the Division of Humanities and Social Sciences at Caltech. It's my honor to welcome you to Looking Back as We Move Forward, the Past, Present, and Future of the History of Science, a conference in honor of Jed Buchwald. As you likely know, events like this do not happen by miracle, so it's my pleasure to remind you that you would not be here not for the efforts of Diana Kormos-Buchwald, Cindy Elvington, and the staff at the Einstein Papers Project and the Division of Humanities and Social Sciences. Events like this also do not happen without some financial wherewithal. Please consult the safety information card in your booklet for the list. We're also very grateful for their generosity. It is my habit to be very brief in these instances because the substance is far more interesting than anything a dean might say. But let me tarry for a minute or two. Unlike you, I do not have the privilege of calling Jed my friend or my mentor, but I do have the joy of having him as a colleague. And because of a height differential, I get to peer over his shoulders, which, trust me, is way easier than standing on those of giants. Just try it. So looking over the right shoulder and reading his work, which is my habit with my colleagues, it has been a remarkable discovery to find a scholarship that is neither bound by space or time or even matter. Sometimes it is a hard read, sometimes it's a fun read. But as you do it, you tend to find that Assyrians, Egyptians, early moderns, moderns alike, all queue up to be examined, analyzed, and ultimately revealed by the good Dr. Buchwald. I think this conference program is going to confirm this eclecticism and the passion for discovery, which, although Jed didn't come to Caltech very young, is a characteristic of the values that we most espouse here. Now, that's Jed as a scholar, but he has two shoulders, and over his left shoulder, I peered into Jed as an institution builder. From the past, the Burndy Library, to his editorship, his scholars are in his debt, and so am I. But although we are celebrating his 70th birthday, Jed is not fading. To the contrary, he has accepted to be the inaugural director of the Research Institute in the History of Science and Technology at Caltech and the Huntington, a project more than a decade in the making. The combination of his remarkable vision and blend of tact and humor is helping launch this enterprise at top speed. Given the time it took to launch, that is a good thing. And this is just as a chair, I just wanted to say thank you, Jed, for this. So my schedule is a bit like Swiss cheese, but at least there's some cheese, and today the cheese will be popping in and out of these meetings. I wish you a great meeting, and thank you for all coming. And it is now my pleasure to recognize John Heilbron.
Good morning. I'm very pleased and flattered to preside over this opening session, which is to set the solid foundations for the speculations about the future of our discipline that we will hear in subsequent sessions. Unfortunately, Dan Kevlis, who was scheduled to speak this morning, cannot be with us. His regrettable absence, however, makes it possible to allow a little more time to each of the surviving speakers and to entertain a few questions should they say anything questionable. I would like to say a few words on behalf of the speakers and myself before proceeding to our main business. We wish first to thank the organizers and especially Diana for bringing together a meeting that will feature as the most significant intellectual event in Southern California in modern memory. Secondly, we wish to congratulate Jed on his endurance, now stretched to the modest extent of 70 years, although we are surprised, as I suppose you all are, that Jed, who usually is so much faster than the rest of us, has taken a full 70 years to get here. I have some further things to say about Jed, and has said most of them in the album Amicorum, which I think will be made available tomorrow, is that, or this afternoon? about this in this album. Here I will mention from it only a document that I drew up at Jed's dictation many years ago. I think it will interest most of you. It is a list in rank order of all the historians of science with whose work Jed was then acquainted. Like Gilbert and Sullivan's Mikado, I carry this little list with me. And like Joe McCarthy, I shall make it available if threatened. Many of you would be surprised at your place on this list. As a rough indication of its tone and penetration, here are some words from Jed's assessment of the work of mine that served as his evidence for the basis of my placement. Here are the words: misleading, disagreeable, confusing, irritating, flawed in content, style, interpretation, and emphasis. To calibrate these compliments, you should know that I am closer to the top than to the bottom of this list. As you all know, Jed has turned editor, indeed operates a cartel controlling large swathes of the history of science, and has found it more economical to relax his scorched earth policy than to write everything himself. His forbearance may also be a consequence of the maturation often associated with reaching the biblical age. Other causes of his mellowing are the benign influences of Diana and the California sun. Jed has now relaxed his scholarly severity to the point of allowing himself to become a successful Egyptologist, despite being unable to tell whether a text in hieroglyphics is a prayer for the dead or a menu for lunch. There is now no subject safe from him. That should not alarm us, however. The good news is that no protective action is required immediately. Jed has gone back to a topic, goal, and method that no one will dispute with him. The topic is Heinrich Hertz's first experiments with radio waves. The goal, thoroughly understanding them. The method, exotic electronics. Jed has made a computer model of the lecture room in which Hertz performed his experiments. It is supererogatorily comprehensive. That is, it goes beyond what God commands or requires of historians. It includes all relevant electrical properties of the apparatus itself, the nails in the floorboards, the fillings in Hertz's teeth, and the iron in his constitution. The calculations required would stop a normal man half Jed's age. To perform them, he has assembled an orchard full of apples. The crunching is now over. Unfortunately, in the present state of human development, it cannot be determined whether results are right or wrong. Jed asked some members of the Caltech faculty to check his work, but they were unable to do so. Nowhere at Caltech or JPL or in the entire federal government is there a calculator as powerful as Jed's orchard. He has thus unwittingly confirmed the profound truths that all knowledge is local and no experiment is reproducible. We must now turn to our own work. You will no doubt want to know how our distinguished panel was recruited. Well, the organizers determined, rightly I think, that those selected for setting a new stage for history of science should be those who have faced the future for the longest time. No doubt Diana thought it a good joke to get them from the La Brea tar pits. If you like what you hear today, you can find more uplifting excitement a few miles away. That's the side that I want. A few miles away, where some colleagues are still trying to free themselves from academic glue. You should, if you have a chance, go to the La Brea tar pits. We must now, let's see, the three mammoths beside me or sitting or whom you are about to hear were handpicked to discuss the future evolution of the remote descendants. Handpicked, I say, because as a little paleontological research discloses, they all come from the same stratum as Jed. Pick up any collaborative volume edited by one of them, and you are almost sure to find papers by the other two. No doubt they were all mighty in their time, but as a glance at their published work and a little conversation of them confirms, they are far out of date. They remain passionately interested in their subjects and continue to contribute to them in their backward ways. They cling to the belief that logic, reasoned argument, and facts have a place in historical writing, indeed a foremost place, and they have maintained this position despite the manifold indications that evolution has taken a different path. And so let us go to work.